Letter from Birmingham Jail. Argument by Martin Luther King, Jr. April 16th, 1963. My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticisms that cross my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence in the course of the day, and I would have no time for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill, and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms.
April 16th, 1963. My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. So we actually learn a lot about this letter and its context just from these first sentences.
Right. First, we know when it was written, 1963.
And it's addressed to my dear fellow clergymen, which tells you that both the writer and the audience of readers are clergymen.
Yeah, he's writing to his peers, essentially, which gives us some context. We know that the tone and the content of his letter are meant for others in his same profession.
And he also establishes the setting in the very first line, confined here in the Birmingham City Jail. I have to admit, once I read that, I had some questions. Like, how is he writing this? There weren't computers or email. Is he using pencil and paper? Would they have given him a typewriter? Is he dictating to someone?
It definitely forces you to consider the circumstances, and it makes the letter seem even more serious, more urgent. This is so important that even from jail, he will find a way to communicate.
And he says, seldom do I pause to answer criticism. We know he was a controversial figure who was probably swamped with criticism, so why answer now?
The complaint is that his activities are unwise and untimely. We don't know what those activities are exactly, but we can infer that they probably have to do with the civil rights movement.
And the activities have landed him in jail, so he's really writing from a place of deep involvement.
And he goes on, if I sought to answer all the criticisms across my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence in the course of the day, and I would have no time for constructive work. But since I feel that you are men of genuine goodwill and that your criticisms are sincerely set forth, I want to try to answer your statement in what I hope will be patient and reasonable terms. So, okay, we were right. He is flooded with criticism.
And he's quick to point out that he's a very busy person with secretaries, plural, who would be busy all day, we assume, taking dictation in reply to all the criticisms.
He says he would have no time for constructive work if he answered all of his critics, so responding to complaints is usually not worth his time and effort.
That would make this a special exception.
I like the way he says he's answering in what he hopes will be patient and reasonable terms. This sounds like a parallel response to their complaint.
That's true, because they say he's unwise and untimely, so then he says, I will be patient and reasonable with you.
And his tone reflects those qualities. The language sounds serious and formal, but also civil.
He acknowledges that they're men of genuine goodwill, and that their criticisms are sincere. So it's clear he's not seeing these fellow clergymen as his enemies. He's addressing them with respect.
I think I should indicate why I am here in Birmingham, since you have been influenced by the view which argues against outsiders coming in. I have the honor of serving as president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization operating in every southern state, with headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. We have some 85 affiliated organizations across the South, and one of them is the Alabama Christian Movement for Human Rights. Frequently, we share staff, educational, and financial resources with our affiliates. Several months ago, the affiliate here in Birmingham asked us to be on call to engage in a nonviolent direct action program, if such were deemed necessary. We readily consented, and when the hour came, we lived up to our promise. So I, along with several members of my staff, am here because I was invited here. I am here because I have organizational ties here. But more basically, I am in Birmingham because injustice is here. Just as the prophets of the 8th century B.C. left their villages and carried their "Thus saith the Lord" far beyond the boundaries of their hometowns, and just as the Apostle Paul left his village of Tarsus and carried the gospel of Jesus Christ to the far corners of the Greco-Roman world, so am I compelled to carry the gospel of freedom beyond my own hometown. Like Paul, I must constantly respond to the Macedonian call for aid. Moreover, I am cognizant of the interrelatedness of all communities and states. I cannot sit idly by in Atlanta and not be concerned about what happens in Birmingham. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Never again can we afford to live with a narrow, provincial, outside agitator idea. Anyone who lives inside the United States can never be considered an outsider anywhere within its bounds. You deplore the demonstrations taking place in Birmingham, but your statement, I am sorry to say, fails to express a similar concern for the conditions that brought about the demonstrations. I am sure that none of you would want to rest content with the superficial kind of social analysis that deals merely with the facts and does not grapple with underlying causes. It is unfortunate that demonstrations are taking place in Birmingham, but it is even more unfortunate that the city's white power structure left the Negro community with no alternative.